You call in the floor again.
These must be full-blown members of the airport board.
You got it.
Yeah, look around, Jolly, you rascal. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Good morning, gentlemen.
We are getting that on live stream, by the way.
Yay.
Yeah.
Say what now?
Do you not want this plugged in this morning, or you
No,
good?
it's fine because it was 100% charged. So.
Your report is not what you report.
I did. I did that on purpose.
Statement there, huh?
I told Brenda I'm going to get some tape and I'm going to
Make a line of demarcation.
I told her she needed
Yeah,
like a
guarantee
wall.
Jay will want to do the same thing. I'm always encroaching on his.
This is my dance space.
You're
This is
fine. I'm the one who encroaches
My
on
space.
Councilor Clint, and
I'm getting on. I get the
I
street
tried-
table all to myself.
I know, but that's because of me. I'm encroaching upon you.
Is
Yeah. We good to go, Brenda?
Hope so.
Yep.
Call the Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Let the record show it is 9 o'clock a.m. on April the 4th. Mr. Jolly, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning, sir? Thank you, I appreciate that.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd remain standing and join me in a resounding happy birthday song to our county attorney. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Clint. Happy birthday to you.
So much for keeping that secret.
That's right, that's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's actually Friday, but this is
Oh, it
as close
is?
as we can get, I
In that
guess.
case,
Yeah.
Good enough.
I'll come back Friday for
Come back
another
Friday,
birthday.
we'll do it again. Well, happy birthday,
I
sir.
will be here.
Okay.
And Kelly provided goodies in the back here.
Oh.
Well, thank you, Carol. Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome.
happy birthday.
Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Flower,
Present.
Commissioner Canada,
Here.
Commissioner Prince,
Present.
Attorney Clint Smith,
Present.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any amendments to the agenda?
No.
I would like to just add the wet bar plumbing issue to old business.
Old
if I may,
business.
please.
Okay, we'll just do that real quick. Anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Okay. And I do not start with you.
Jackie Bubis for the Sentinel.
Robert Custer from the airport.
Bob Jolly from the airport.
John Goebel from Estonia.
Next door.
Tracy Ballard Tribune.
Okay, thank you and welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Commissioner items. Commissioner Kanda.
Not since yesterday. Well, it seems like just yesterday.
It does seem like yesterday, nor do I. Mr. Prince.
Yesterday we had a discussion about the minimum retaining wall by the steps. I spoke with the planning and zoning gentleman, Mike Carter. He will be here about 10 o'clock to talk to us about what he sees, why he didn't talk to us, and whatever else we decide to rake him over the coals over.
You didn't have any excuses?
Do we need to add that to the agenda? If you want to put, it's not really a staff report. Should we put that under new business?
That'd be fine.
Put it on our new business because we might want to make a decision or two. Right?
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All right. So, Mike Carter, Town of West Cliff, discussion of sidewalks project. Okay, is that all right? Good with that, okay, thank you. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it.
All right. And, attorney items?
Nothing today.
Thank you, sir. Administrative assistant?
Nothing.
Okay.
That's right.
So we will move into staff reports. First on the docket today is the airport board. So if you gentlemen are ready, we'll gain a few minutes on our schedule today, by golly.
That's a hint.
And you're gonna get a lot more.
I mean,
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, my friend.
Oh, you're welcome to come up if you want, or?
No, that's fine. I can hear from here.
All right.
Thank you.
he's quick on his feet, he can get up here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good news, we don't have a whole lot to report, other than we did sell some fuel in March, 275 gallons or so. And I would like to thank I'm not sure what his name is, your custodian.
Oh,
Ed
Ed.
Reinhardt.
Yeah, Ed,
Ed
right.
Reinhardt. He did a good job at the airport. We
Cleaned
didn't-
that nest up, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And we didn't ask him to do it, didn't tell him to do it. He just volunteered to do it.
Isn't that wonderful?
It was
Okay.
very nice. I tried to fix the problem. Dallas Anderson tried to fix the problem. Alan Butler tried to fix the problem. And I finally called the plumber. And then right after I called the plumber, I got a call from your guy. And he said the problem had been fixed.
Now, is this in the bathrooms,
Yes.
plumbing problem in the bathroom?
Yes.
Good. Good, glad to hear that. I will pass that
Thanks for
on.
passing those kudos on, because everybody likes to complain about everybody. When we hear something nice, we will pass it on to him. So
That's why I
thank you for
passed
doing
it
it.
on.
Thank you very much.
Good, yeah,
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
let you
he's
know.
doing a great job for us, and I'm glad to hear
Doing a
that you're.
good job for us too.
Good.
So,
Okay.
I don't know if anybody had heard the rumor that Bill Geipel was gonna sell his hangers.
Yeah.
Not going to. He's not selling his hangers, not moving, so that's good news for the airport. Other than that, don't have nothing.
Bob Giacomelli?
Oh, yes, Bob Giacomelli apparently put in a letter of interest in
Yes,
the airport board,
Yes.
and we highly recommend it.
okay.
Is there-
Spell his name.
Let me see if I can pull that up real quick for you.
GIA.
Yeah. Comell.
L.I.
Don't think so.
There's an opening on the board now?
No.
GIA.
C-O-M-E-L-L-I.
Let me see.
We have 6 members, we need 7.
Yes,
So you have an opening?
Yes.
yes,
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
yes, we do have an opening.
Potentially to be filled by Bob.
Right.
Oh, let's see here.
And everything else is fine. You working to get a screen on your pump. That's the last I got.
We're working on that. Those things are
Hard to come by.
well, they're easy to come by. They're very expensive. $532
Or 300 more.
And
I did, I
That's
pulled it
okay.
up, but that's
the
right.
overlay, we found out that it may be the overlay and not the board
So the
itself.
board's fine. You just can't read it.
Right. So the overlay, the good news is the overlay is only $250.
Well, can you really read any of those computer boards? I mean, if you go down to Alan's place and buy gas, you have to go like this
Yeah.
and go like this to
You
see
go
the
like that
screen.
out there, you can't even
I
see
mean,
it
the
at all.
sun, problem is, it faces
Yeah.
east and west.
That's true.
A hood would be the thing to do, if we figure out a way to put a hood just over.
They have a hood. They make a hood.
Yeah, and that would be the answer in my
Shielded, I
opinion.
should say.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you guys
Anyway,
working on
I'm looking into it,
Okay.
either a shield or a new overlay, and I haven't been out to the airport since yesterday to actually pull it apart to see whether it is the overlay or
Okay.
a shield would do it. So whichever way, I don't think it's the board itself.
No, I don't think it's the board.
Good.
Can I ask if, have you gotten a copy of the resolution establishing as the airport? So you know now you don't have to get permission to
Yes.
Okay, spend money over, what was it, 300 was the?
Right.
Originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Govern wisely.
Do you,
That's why I'm looking to see if we can get by with an overlay.
Sure, I just was just asking what you.
would you like us to appoint Mr. Giacomelli to the board today?
See, yes.
Is he ready? I mean,
Let me read this letter then dated 3/9/18. Dear Brenda and/or board, my name is Robert Giacomelli. I'm interested in being a member of our airport board located at Silver West Airport. I've been a board member in the past. My background in aviation is 25 years as an airline pilot, and prior to that, flight instructor, charter pilot, and weather modifier. Sincerely, Robert Giacomelli. Post Office Box 1698.
He did, he was a cloud seeder.
So,
Was that what he was?
Giacomelli.
I move that we appoint Bob Giacomelli to the airport board, effective immediately to fill the vacancy.
No, I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to appoint Robert Giacomelli to the airport board. Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
You want to keep this in a record, or do you want to keep it?
I'll put it in the airport file.
Okay. You've got a copy of it?
Yes.
Can you draft a letter and send it to him? So we'll, Brenda will write up a letter of notification and I'll sign it and we'll mail that to him. You're welcome to tell him whenever you see him. That's perfectly fine there. Did you have any luck tracking down our old buddy Tom Redmond about that chunk of land?
No.
Do you still need some contact information, or?
It'd be very.
That was the last word I got, that you didn't have his assistant's phone number in Minnesota.
Somebody in Minnesota.
Yeah, Teresa, I've got her number. It'd take me a while to go through my phone and find it, because actually I can't remember how I filed it, but.
I think I probably do have his son's phone number at work on the computer, because he's a customer of ours. So, I just thought of that when you were talking about phone numbers, so I'll check into it, see what I got.
If you want me to pursue that, I've dealt with her on other issues in the past, and so I don't have a problem calling her.
Well, we'd just really like to find out if, when they sold the ranch, whether that was included in it or not.
Right, and that's what I assumed was the question. I did look at the lease of that piece of property, a 50-year lease in exchange for the money donated towards the runway, correct?
Wow.
Right.
So it was not an actual real estate transaction, other than it was lease. He did not buy that.
That's correct.
So
That's my
I'm with you. I'm very curious to know whether he transferred that lease to the new owners or not, or whether it was forgotten, or.
Yeah.
So.
That's really what we want to find out. So, in the future, if we can ever use that piece of property,
Right.
we'd be able to use it.
Clint, do you feel like that's something we should have you maybe send a letter directly to him asking the status of that piece of property, or?
Is the deal finalized now? Has anything been recorded with JD yet?
That's what I was just gonna say, are you talking property, like ground?
Yes.
Yes.
JD would know.
Yeah.
When the Navajo Nation bought,
You gotta look there first before we
Yeah.
come in.
yeah, I need to see what's been recorded. It's possible it's mentioned, whatever got recorded could have been, but nothing's been recorded through your office, or you don't know?
No, we've got all that.
So, okay.
Yeah, so JD will have it, and he'll have it all transferred, so he can look right at that piece
Where is
of
it
ground.
anyway? Is it
It's north
and
east of the operations
Oh, and
building.
yes.
200 by 200 square foot.
200
piece of
feet,
land.
that's right.
So,
Okay, that's the,
Everything
That's a
involved
big
in the
piece
of
lease
property.
goes through Jackie.
I can't imagine they would have cut that.
But eventually to JD.
Yeah,
and Jackie's got a copy of that lease.
okay.
Gotta find out
But I don't-
what the deed is
I just
actually.
don't know if it was included in the real estate transaction. But
Alright, I'll take a look and see what I can find out first.
and you know, I guess it could have gone with either property.
Depends on how it was filed, you know, if but on that deed, just depends how they attach it.
Well, it wouldn't have been on a deed, I don't think. There was
It
no
has to have a
deed.
deed of its own then.
If it's ground, it's
Gotta
gotta.
have-
Yeah, but not for the real estate transaction. It was a lease. The airport leased him that ground.
Oh, so he didn't actually
No.
own it?
No, he has
Yeah,
he has
that's
a
what I'm saying.
9 year,
I don't
what was
believe
it,
there'd
20,
be
how
a
many year
deed.
lease are there?
50.
No, his was a 50-year lease.
50-year lease on it. It's gotta
My
be
bet-
recorded.
My best guess is, I doubt if that, airport property had anything to do with the
It's
ranch.
probably just sitting there.
Well, I
Yeah,
would guess,
exactly.
because how would he randomly decide which
Yeah.
parcel he went with,
Right.
number one?
Right.
So,
Well, and that's the whole
JD
thing, is we
leases.
just need to find out what the status
Are you
is.
recorded review?
So
right.
we would
That's-
know
Is that
how to
lease recorded?
proceed.
That's why I brought it up.
Here.
We haven't got it.
So, I think Jackie's probably got the only.
So Jackie would have the only record on
Well,
that?
Well,
they
JD
record,
might.
they record it, and I've not seen a lease come through.
No, this was 12 years ago. I think they're in year 38 of that lease. Got
But a new
38
lease
left.
hasn't.
How is the
No.
lease recorded? Is it,
I have no idea.
how's it held?
They don't have to be recorded, I mean,
Right.
leases aren't, so it's,
So somebody had to sign for the airport back then, didn't they?
well, I mean, Jackie's the one that's always
She's
maintained
got
all the records and everything for all the leases of the property.
JD
There's not a structure on it, it's just raw land.
Just raw land.
Vacant land. So,
I'll
well,
look
we'll
into it and
pursue
see
that
what I
and
can
see.
find out.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Good job.
Let's see.
Question if I may. A few months ago, we talked about adjusting, allowing you to adjust prices to be more competitive. Is that working out okay?
Yes, working real good. And, I looked at fuel prices this morning, and they're coming out down good. So if we were to buy fuel today, our price would actually come down from where it
That
is.
helps.
Which helps.
Great. Thanks, I just wanted
Yeah,
an update on that decision we made, of was it a good one or a bad one?
Yes.
I knew it was a good one, we did it, but I just want to make sure it was working.
Yep, working good.
Perfect.
It's allowing us to be competitive with everybody else.
That's what we need to be, of course.
Great. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. You didn't have to call up Cisco Kid in the back.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We'll pass on to Ed your comments.
Yes, thank you for those, appreciate it. Telling you.
Down a little bit.
No, sound like the president.
She
Get it over with.
She
That's
goes
right.
faster than I.
Before I forget.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Well, things over in the money vault. Not good.
Not good.
If you look at our revenues, and then you look at disbursements, we have 864,000 we didn't collect. That we had to pull out.
For everybody to pay their taxes.
Well, we're in the middle of tax season. This is gonna be the first year that I've worked here, that we're gonna have to transfer money from time deposit to pay the bill. First time ever.
Closing that.
Yeah, what is
You
it?
guys went into the 600,000 over budget, and we're not bringing in money like, so I don't know who's not, if you're expecting more from zoning, or if you're expecting more from something else. But that's what's causing it, we went into the over the budget.
Reserve.
Mhm.
So where are you pulling it from?
We're gonna pull it from the time deposit down there, the,
How much you gonna have?
investment. Well, I don't know yet. I'm still looking at my bank account, I have 300 and some thousand now, but I have 400,000 going out in bills. I've got payroll went out of 185,000, and we have EFTs, which is benefits that have gone out. And Kelly's report's going to be going out 71,000. So Tuesday I'm going to look at it because I'm sending out to the entities 300,000.
So how much is in the time deposit?
It's right there.
Where is it?
On the bottom.
The very bottom.
This is investments.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You're concerned, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Very concerned.
So what do we know we got coming in, Virginia? What are you expecting?
I'm not excited.
Tax-wise.
Whatever they send me this month, that's all I can go by,
I
what
know.
people send me, so I have no
What's been the
expectations.
history?
I haven't looked at history.
Yeah,
Every
okay.
year is different.
Well,
We're at the bottom part of our, we're at 50% of our collection right now.
Okay.
and nothing unusual as far as our disbursements.
No, everything's about,
It's just that hit we took at the very beginning on the,
well, even now, Road and Bridge had their, I don't know how much went out on the 2,300,000.
When, last year? Now?
No, in this budget.
With that, yeah.
yeah, I don't know either.
So they're tracking to their budget, I know that. Okay.
So the difference, 688 and, thank you.
Read it out.
So 864, 563, we're gonna have to transfer.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I
Yeah.
play it very conservatively. If I get more money in, say,
By the end of the month.
we have Homestead be coming in 170,000, but that's not until like the 17th. We have sales taxes coming in, that's usually like 40,000. It just depends. I'm gonna like to look at it Tuesday. I'm gonna be very conservative on what I,
So being
have to.
conservative, then you've got your 800 short right now.
I'm 800 short, well, according to this report.
That's what I
But,
meant.
mhm.
But that's not,
Necessarily real
right, so
time.
when you're gonna reconcile it, we're gonna know.
I'm gonna look at it Tuesday to see how much I need to transfer, to make it, to keep it up from being in a negative balance.
Right.
And I'm gonna do that all month long, I'm gonna look at it.
So you would wait to transfer it till the end of the month? Is that
No,
what you're
I'm
do?
gonna, on Tuesday, I'm probably gonna have to transfer some.
Okay, makes sense.
And do we have to sign anything for that? You can do that.
Good.
Yeah, the only time you guys are involved in the transfer is when it comes from Phil, the county general.
So just because the public can't see what we see here, we have enough to do that, is the point, right now.
Right now, but
Yeah,
you won't
and-
be there very long if you keep doing it.
Well, we can't do it every month, for heaven's sakes.
Right, and you can't do it every year.
Or
On the
every
budget.
year.
On the budget, you need to be more
Right.
conservative. and
That's right,
spend-
that's why we have to watch to make sure we maintain the budget we were signed up to this year. And we're tracking to it right now. That's good. Good to know.
Prince, anything?
Yeah. I'm a little confused. I thought, and help me because I just don't remember, I thought this amount was the amount that we were gonna use from road and bridge reserves.
That is
For
part of
road and
it.
bridge.
That is part of the road and bridge reserves. You're collecting, the money we're collecting.
We're still,
Road and Bridge hadn't brought in the extra money, and they're bringing in the same amount of money, you just use the reserve.
I understand, and the discussion at the time, if I remember, was we would use that reserve rather than keep it in a pot. We'd put it in so that it would be used so that roads would be better and the citizens. And that would free up, if we took it out of reserves for road and bridge, the amount we fund to road and bridge would be that much less, because it's a separate tax that goes just to them. We can't move it around, is my understanding. So if we didn't take out of general fund to pay road and bridge, but took their reserve to pay road and bridge, that would allow the additional funds for our general budget.
What you're seeing here is a collection of this year. It has nothing to do with last year's, what you decided on the budget, if you see what I'm saying.
No, I'm confused. I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
I'm
The
not trying to
reserve
be-
is right
I
here,
just
the
don't
road and
understand.
bridge reserve is in this investment. We're gonna take that money out of there.
Right,
But we have not collected any extra from road and bridge.
okay.
That's why we're showing.
Right, so just
Okay.
let's restate it then. So zero-sum game, we started the year, we balanced, everything's fine, and we got a budget, and we're going against it. The assessments are less this year probably, and so that's impacting us some, I'm sure. And I'll continue to do it, and we haven't blown out of any of our budget items yet.
Right.
We're tracking to everybody's budget's doing fine right now. But the revenues are less. So and that's why we have a reserve. And that's the good news. Bad news is if it continues, and we gotta figure out what's causing it, you know, where we're gonna have to generate more revenue from other sources or whatever. It's,
Well,
you know,
every
right.
time you go into the budget, you kind of guess the zoning's gonna bring this much.
Right.
or
So we may-
Let's finish up, it's
That's right.
gonna do this much, and if you don't get that.
That's why it's very important to track it each month, week by week, and I've got the road and bridge guys are doing that. Each department's doing that, and I don't know that, you need to check and see so that we can see what department, where are we? Where is the hole, where's the leak if there is one?
Well, a lot of it is road and bridge,
Right.
because you are getting into that investment, and I knew you were going to, because
Right.
you went over that, you went 600,000
Because
over.
that's right,
And
because we took it out.
That's gonna be telling.
Right, so as long as we hold even with that 600 like we are, we'll be okay.
And I think what I'm hearing, and what I'm hearing is, this is not a good plan long-term.
Right.
We did it this year so we could balance the budget.
Right.
And there was well over $1 million, if I remember, in road and bridge, and we were thinking, you know, the people approved the tax.
Right, that's why we spent it.
Right.
So
And
we're
we did,
okay.
like yesterday, we bought some trucks and stuff, so I get it, long-term, this is good, that is not a plan, by any means whatsoever. But I think we could have anticipated this based upon conscious decisions that we made. And of course, we base our revenues on estimates from JD's office, which may or may not be, I mean, they're estimates.
Right.
He makes his best guess, and he's very conservative, as you are, and I appreciate that.
Everybody's an estimate on a budget,
Right.
and you just don't know what you're gonna bring in.
So I'm thinking this was anticipated. Okay, all right, I get it loud and clear.
Yeah.
It was, we all, when I say all, the commissioners at the time said, let's get the money out of reserves and put it to work, which we did, and we agreed to do that. And what you're saying to us is, be very careful in the future, and I appreciate that, and you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, I was concerned in October when they were talking about it, before I ever took office. I was concerned in November and December when we approved that budget, and I'm still concerned. Everybody's gonna have to tighten their belt. We cannot absorb another $600,000 shortfall. So,
So it's a philosophy is what it really is. And the philosophy is, and it's just a decision we're gonna have to discuss, how much should Road and Bridge have in reserve, because it can only be earmarked for Road and Bridge. And with people, our citizens approving it, how much of that do we need to put out for Road and Bridge to do a better job? And I fully understand. I mean, we have a significant reserve for the county, but I'm not advocating spending a penny of it. frivolously, you know what I'm saying? So this was a conscious decision to put to work the money that the citizens approved, and I think we did.
I'm not worried yet, I'm concerned.
Well, and I
Got
think that's
it. We're
right.
tracking right to we're tracking, it's okay.
And when we get closer, you need to come and yell at us, or give us your opinion and tell us where we are, and make sure that we're frugal with county money, but also serve the citizens, and that's the balance that we always do with these budgets, so. I'm gonna make sure I just.
Last year or the year before.
Okay.
Just see what-
This timeline?
Okay.
Well, certainly, Commissioner Prince has a significant year of experience on myself dealing with this budget, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know we cannot keep going down the path we went down this year. And I am concerned. I don't anticipate the budget request changing significantly from our county departments, but something's gonna have to change in there.
Hidgley.
So,
Got any other news?
Yep, that's as bad as I can get.
That's enough.
That's not bad.
all right, any other questions, gentlemen?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
You
you.
gotta,
Sign that, that's right, sorry.
You wrote all over.
I did write on.
I wrote on mine too.
I didn't write anything.
the
I got a
original
clean one
signature.
here.
The original, yeah. Go ahead and just, that's okay. Kelly, it just goes in Kelly's office.
I will
Kelly,
move
go
to
ahead.
accept the
The blame.
treasurer's report
I'll second it.
as presented. Been moved and seconded to accept the treasurer's report as presented. Discussion, public comment, hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Report has been accepted.
Also, I have my public trustee quarter report for you guys to look at.
Sorry, I was getting ready to shake your
We're gonna
hand.
boot her out of
We're
here.
gonna just get rid of me, bad news.
864. 563.
Looks good.
Is that for, quarter? Been pretty busy this, pretty,
Did you accept that as
first
well?
year, first quarter, is that unusual?
No.
That's it.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Thank you for your work.
See you guys later.
Hey, Virginia, when that reserve was first established, how did they start it? Was it zero to begin with, and
No,
just start
when I
packing
came
it?
into office, it was upper east.
Yeah, just let me see that.
Thank
How
you,
it's
ma'am.
grown with time.
What's that?
BSO.
Yeah, I hadn't heard from him, and I don't know.
Talked to him yesterday, so he's around.
Oh, he is. I could get
Do.
Laura in if he's not.
We're that much ahead?
15 minutes.
15. Would have been longer.
John, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
When'd you get in?
Well, I got in the DIA at 2, and then I didn't even get my car till like 3, so then I came up here.
Come on up here, you don't have to
Good,
sit.
good breakfast though.
Did you good? Really?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah,
morning, how we doing?
Working along this
Good
morning.
thing you're working early too.
Hey, there you go.
Uncharacteristic of us to be ahead of schedule, it seems like.
It's alright. Gotta get over here.
How are you doing?
I'm still standing.
Good.
Keep taking the hits, but we'll get into that at the end here real quick. I'll give you the update on what's going on with me, but here's the
original.
Try not to ride on this one.
Yeah. Here's your copy. All right, this is pretty quick today.
Okay.
Monthly report, the standard monthly report. I don't remember if I explained, but the state, we get funding from the state. This monthly report is why it's so important, because if they don't get this report, the county doesn't get the money. Okay, so I don't know if I ever mentioned it to you previously, but, and the county gets paid twice a year, July and January is when they get those payments. So when I first started, I was mentioning quite often that there's times where they get 4 or 5 months to get yours open time. So that's important. So why is it so important? Month report, 47 phone calls, 40 office visits. I was out almost half the month due to personal and medical reasons. And that's the main part as that goes. And nothing exciting. And the back page, of course, the monthly expenses and so forth. So it's pretty straightforward as far as that goes. Nothing really exciting in there to talk about. One of the things that's come up, normally April is the state training conference that is required to go to. With everything that's been going on, and I've been out so much, I asked the state if I could miss the conference because I also am scheduled to go to the national training conference. So the state says as long as I go to the national, you keep my accreditation and my continuing education credits, they'd be fine with that. But I'm leaving tomorrow morning. My dad's passed away, so the memorial in Chicago is this weekend. Take my mom back, and we get back Monday. The state conference starts 8 o'clock on Tuesday. I just told the state I just not going to work. So the state director gave me his blessing that as long as I get my training done in June at the national, we're good. Okay. Got contacted by email, John Grego, who my point of contact is Senator Bennett's office. He usually comes at least once a year just to have a community meeting type thing, be available to hear any concerns from vets and so forth. He'd like to come either April or May. We're in the process of setting up a date for that. And I'll keep you informed. But John's been great. He's just been, he's a 20-something, 28, 29-year-old kid. But he's just a bulldog. And anytime I have any issues here, I'm just getting nowhere with the VA, I give him a call, and within 24 hours, they will respond to him. So
I suspect that the three of us would like to meet him, so
Oh,
when you see
absolutely.
here,
Yeah.
let us know.
I will let you know in advance, for sure. He's been just a lifesaver for me. So, the only other thing is my medical update. It's been a crazy 3 months, and it just keeps going. So, I was scheduled to have this hernia surgery, which I had to get done before I did the tumor removal. The morning of my dad's memorial, I woke up with a bad virus, which was 2 days before the surgery was scheduled. I had to go to the emergency room, couldn't breathe, totally infected, antibiotics for 10 days. And so they canceled the surgery because you can't do surgery when you have an infection going on. So now we rescheduled for 2 May. And then hopefully see you once we get up there as soon as possible, get the tumor out. I can't get that done until the other one's done. So then Dad passed away in the middle of all this. So we're leaving off in the middle of it. We just keep plugging away and do the best we can, keep you updated. And,
I think for the county, we are so sorry to hear about your dad. I mean, we all contacted you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, and I pass it on to Mom. Very sad. I appreciate it. So, and the other thing was when Dad went down to Hildebrand down in Canyon, Mom was pretty adamant Dad's not going by himself. So we got approval. She went in as assistant care, but we brought her back home, so she's back home with me now. So,
is there anything the county can do to help you, either personally or
just
hang in there with
hang in there with me.
We're with you.
Yep.
I mean, we're on your side.
Yeah, and then when I get back and we'll hit the ground running and try to get caught up on stuff and return a call as best I can and let us know. And everybody's been great about understanding it. So I just want to give you an update.
We're standing by you.
Yep. Okay. Appreciate it. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I've got a question on the report.
Mm-hmm.
I see there's an auto repair. Is that a service that
Part of the trust fund.
The trust fund covers that. Is it of any concern of ours as to the dollar amounts on all that stuff, or?
No, because the trust fund
really.
is actually not,
It's not
we
county money.
support it. It's actually administered by the VFW. It's a grant that goes to the VFW, and we just support that. So any of the expenditures, someone asked me in the first year, well, why don't you be the grant administrator? And I said, well, because I'm operating as a county employee. That grant has to be administered by a nonprofit. And they want to get into any gray areas with that. If there's even perceived that it was being administered by the county, then the VFW, or previously the Legion, could be at risk of that grant. So the auto repairs, some things like safety issues. I know last year we did like 4 sets of tires last year because we had vets pulling up. And you look out at the car and the 4 tires are bald. This bald's all get out. And so those are considered things that the grant we can't get approval for. So,
The other thing I wanted to pass on to you was, when I have the opportunity, I have indicated to a couple organizations that the fewer meetings can be held in your VSO building over there, the better, because you need some privacy. And so I think we need to look at maybe changing our policy of use over there.
Well, policy when my first year kind of got established was that at that time when I first started, it was only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and then it went full time in August. But that during hours from 8 to 4, no meetings would be held there, and that's kind of settled in, and it's been fine. So the earliest any meetings start is 4, and usually my last appointment I usually schedule say when they come in is 3, so then usually by 3:34. Every once in a while I have some of my younger vets who are still working, and we'll set up the time when they come in. I know there's no meeting, and I'll meet them at 5 or 6 and so forth.
So it hasn't been a problem, or is it?
No, it hasn't been a problem per se. Usually, we've kind of settled in where they don't start at 4. Sometimes they start somewhere at 3:45. But I look at the calendar, and if the calendar shows someone's gonna be there at 4, I usually try to work my day. But my last person, I've usually got them out by 3:30, 3:45. I may stay and do some paperwork and get caught up on stuff, but.
So you're not having anybody schedule afternoon meetings in there?
No.
Okay. Good.
No, hasn't been an issue.
How much of that building are you using? And I'm going to preface this by telling you where my mind is working.
Yeah.
We're having some significant issues with privacy with our public health office. She currently has 3 offices. Is there, I mean, because you're both so confidential, do you have space available, or is it?
No, well, technically, the area that is my office, and then just outside, there's a little waiting area.
Right.
That is really my area. Right. And then, of course, the sheriff's office next door. Sheriff Byerly's been great, that if something comes up, he's given me a key to use that office if need be. I've had situations where I've had either a VA counselor come up for voc rehab or something, or other situations where I can have someone use that office while I'm working and so forth. So, but as far as what is considered my area is my office, and that waiting area where I have a computer workstation there, and because I do have some vets who come in who don't have internet access and they check on stuff through VA benefits and so forth. So, but that's really about 200 square feet.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Get your life settled down, and
working on it.
I know you are, and I appreciate that. I'm just sorry you have to go through all this stuff.
Yeah, it's just, it's just life. It's curveballs, and you deal with them, and you keep driving on, so we'll be all right. But in the meantime, I appreciate the county's support.
You got it.
DSO report for the month of March.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to accept March Veteran Service Officers report. Any discussion? Any public comment? Yes,
Quick
ma'am.
question, what's your database now, Tim?
451. Keep growing this month is.
Thanks.
Okay, no problem. It just continues to grow, so we started at 60 something, so growing.
Great. Further comments from the public? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. I will sign your report, sir. Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Okay.
Be careful this weekend on all your travels.
Yeah, so far the weather looks good. So Chicago got some snow chances.
Okay.
Yes.
Would the county entertain any idea of sending some flowers to the memorial?
Not a bad thing.
Certainly would entertain a motion to that effect. If you can include a dollar amount.
I'll move that we authorize Ms. Gay to help us send flowers not to exceed, I don't know.
You're running about $50.
$50? $50, not to exceed $50 with condolences from the county of Custer, or Custer County.
I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to authorize Brenda to assist us in sending flowers to the memorial in Chicago. Discussion, public comment. Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you ahead of time, Miss Brenda.
Yeah, I just need to know
We'll find out
details.
where.
Yeah, track all that down. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Move to Human Services. How are you?
I'm all
Portion
right.
of our agenda.
More.
Could you pass appropriate birthday greetings to said council this morning for his birthday on Friday? Since you weren't here when we sang happy birthday to him this
Did you
morning.
make her sing separately?
No, you don't want that.
We could, but
move that.
No, no, you do not want that, I'm telling you right now.
well,
Yes.
good morning.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Friday.
Friday, what is that, the 6th? Oh, okay, all right. And I'm not even gonna ask how old you are because it
I'm
doesn't
a
really.
volunteer, 73.
Oh, wow, okay. You're just a spring chicken
Yeah,
then.
just hitting the high low.
Yeah, I never thought I'd get anywhere near this. Who knows?
Who knew?
That's true, that's true.
I know, that's what my mom said when she goes, I'm gonna be 80 years old. I never didn't think I'd live that long. Well, you did, made it 83, so I guess that was.
And we had a courthouse birthday on April 1st.
Is that Virginia?
And so she said, out of curiosity, she wondered how many times April 1st and Easter coincided.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
And
remember
so
it
we
ever.
looked that up. And
Probably has,
since
but
the mid 1700s, it's occurred 7 times.
Oh,
That's
wow.
it? Wow.
April so.
No wonder you don't
That's
remember.
why I don't remember.
So she thought
Yeah.
that was.
Well, it's only been on my birthday, maybe once or twice that I recall all these years.
Yeah, yeah, because it moves all the time, so.
Yeah.
You don't know that. Huh, interesting.
So you're the document lady.
I am the document lady,
Let
and
us.
Brenda and I tried to put them in order. And here's the key word to that was after I gave them to Brenda and told her how to do it, I didn't staple mine, but I think no, I paper clipped them. And if you will look, we have, redone them again.
Well, I'm scrambling. I've got the list with our board packet, but then Brenda sent us a list with the order, but you think you're close to that or not?
Oh, I think so, because we went through them and then I paper clipped it. So, and I just took the paper clip off, so I think we're okay. But you have this one
I have that one in front of me.
and Bill does, so. And that was the one that was really confusing and we took a lot of the stuff out of it and now I just have additional pages.
Okay, what are you calling that one?
It is expenditure and
Balance for 50.
unexpended balance. Speaking of mouthful, that's what I have, so I can't say certain words that this doesn't happen for me.
Looks like this.
Look at mine, let's see if you want.
Well, I've got it. It's just a matter of figuring out which one to try to open based on the names, because the names do not coincide, so it doesn't matter.
No.
I'll teach you a secret on how to do this. You open them all at the same time and then you can just
click on it.
Kind of open on the bottom, you just pick the one that you do.
And we tried to put them in order, so the first one that you have should be this one. That's what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Keyword was trying.
So while he's looking, I'll ask you the question I ask every single month. Any anomalies, unusual, anything that we need to know about?
No.
Things percolating along okay?
We're percolating. Let's see. Rhonda and I are going up Monday for a training in Denver on our electronic data management system, where we're gonna scan stuff into our client cases instead of supposedly having paper copies. We can scan them directly into the case electronically.
Cool.
So we're going up there to Denver on Monday for that, and then in a couple of weeks, Stacy and I are going to Canyon City for a 3-day training on adult protection that we have to do. So, and then she's got to go to Denver for another training. So we got people here back and forth in trainings and everything else. LEAP is winding down. This is our last month for LEAP. People need to get in their applications in for LEAP because the program will be over. We are down a little bit statewide on applications for LEAP, but I think it's because the winter has been mild statewide, and so they're not seeing as many applications come in. So what can happen with that is at the end of the LEAP year, if there's leftover funds, then they give all of the recipients they'll do an extra LEAP payment. But we don't know what's gonna happen. It's never know until the end of the year, depending on how many funds we use, what's left, and that type of stuff. So.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I've seen you've been advertising for your open position. I'm just curious, have you received viable candidates?
We only have 2 applications. It closes, they're supposed to get the applications in by Friday.
Okay.
I had somebody pick up an application, they haven't returned it.
Okay. So you have some activity going.
We
That's all I
have
want to make
a
sure
little
that
bit of
we're
activity.
working on
We
it.
have a little bit of activity. I was hoping to have more, but because it requires the degree, and statewide there is a shortage of caseworkers, social workers statewide, so it doesn't really surprise me. El Paso County told me they're down 30 caseworkers.
Wow.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow. How sad is that?
Yeah.
We're lucky we got a couple
I was
of
like, wow.
Yeah.
I thought they probably just have 30 caseworkers. I don't know. He told me the other day, he goes, yeah, we're down 30 caseworkers. And I'm like, are you sure about that? I think that's a lot. I'm sorry. I don't think I really think that he knows what he was talking about. He's not the director or anything. It was just somebody who was at the meeting. I'm like, I'm not sure about that.
Well,
Did you find it? Oh, okay.
Yep.
So this one used to have a lot more on the bottom, and we took that off and just put the ones where we actually had to budget stuff for. And because that's what the county has to do, I mean, they have to put in a certain amount of money. So that's why that's there. And we took, some of the others are pass-throughs, so we got those off of there, and so it just makes it not so hard to read. And since we're just beginning in the year, we're fine on everything, so. And then the next one is the state allocation, which is not a good form, but I don't want to change it because it's on the fiscal year. So in July, I'm going to change this form up, but it's too hard to try and mess with it right now. Okay, so I thought about not even including that because it's not really good. Then the next one I have is the old age pension. That's one where we don't budget anything for, and so we just changed it just to show how many households, and then we have just a graph. So that just shows you how many payments were made and the expenditures on it, and that's all state funded.
Show me that one.
That's in your packet, it's the third from the last.
Oh, yes, because this one is blank. Okay. So you went third to the last? Okay, got it.
Oh. So I do have them out of order. So I did mess those up, didn't I, Brenda?
Well, I mean, it's your show, so.
No, I don't think it is, actually, you know. Oh, God. Yeah, it don't matter.
Okay.
And then I have the Medicaid transportation, which is another just pass-through thing. And that, there again, we just did it easier so you can just see how many payments.
This is
It's
so
right
much
after
better.
the
It's so much better, isn't it? Instead of everything just being
Yes.
long on one page. And LEAP is the same way. And it's just another pass-through, and we don't even pass that through because all the payments are automated and we don't do anything with it. So that just shows you how many and how many and what we paid out in that month. So
that's one of the reasons we're having more documents, because you broke them out.
because I broke them out, so it's easier to understand. And then then we have the energy outreach program. That's another one, and we just show how many payments we had that month. And then community service block grant, the CSBG, that will show.
I just now got your EOC open. That's how long it's taken it to open.
Oh, because it's slow.
I see the documents. It's just then. So
Okay.
you're 54% expended on the EOC.
Yeah. Yes. Because that runs funny, if you'll notice.
It's October.
It starts in October and it runs here, so
Going by a government fiscal year.
yeah.
It's half the year.
It's half the year. And then the community service block grant, when you look at that, it shows 0 payments because we haven't had anybody since January apply. Well, that's not true. I have somebody that's applied, I just haven't made a payment yet. So that's why there are zeros in there. But that's the amount they've given us so far, this $14.30. We're supposed to receive more money, we haven't done that yet. So, I don't know, it's supposed to be coming out.
And that's January through December.
Yep, that one runs January through December. And then this is the food stamps, and then this just shows that the stamps, those food benefits, shows how many households in January and February, the top, and then just a graph, and how the dollar amount that we spent. Well, not we, but that was given out. Some of these they're just informational things, so you understand, have some idea of the amount of people that we're serving. And then the TFAB.
It said FA benefits at the bottom graph. What is that?
Food assistance.
Thank you.
Yeah. It says SNAP here at the top, which is, yeah, it stands for whatever it is. Assistance program. I don't know. What was SNAP? I'm trying to think what that's.
Subsistence.
Yeah. State nutrition something that they call it.
Assistance.
Food stamps, right?
Yes, it used to be the food stamps. Luckily, we don't do that anymore. Way back when that first started, you had coupons, but you had to buy the coupons. So if you were eligible for $100 worth of food coupons, you may have to pay $25. So people were always at the end of the month trying to make sure they had enough money to come in and purchase their food benefits. So they got smart and did away with that. And now, instead of just telling them, now you owe 25, now we just give them 75. Well, that made more sense. Like, yeah.
And that's done via a card?
Yes, and now we do, it used to be coupons, we had to have these coupons, and now we've been card for a long time. And when we went to the card system, we were a pilot county.
Oh, really?
It was us, Fremont, and Pueblo, because we're small, Fremont's a medium, and Pueblo's a large. And we were all within 100 miles, or 100 miles, 50 miles of each other. And so it made it easy for the state to come up, and they wanted that type of grouping. So that was interesting. But yeah, we've been on the coupons for the cards for a long time.
And I see 210 households for February. Correct.
Right. Yes, sir. And then our TFAB, our commodities.
Hold on just a second. Got it. It just, that's how long it takes to load it.
Yeah. And that just shows you how many households or something, I don't know. I didn't do this one, so number of persons, number of households. Oh, I see, okay. Okay.
So the distribution out, that's pounds of food,
Mhm.
correct?
Mhm.
22 households,
Yeah.
49 people.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And as an ongoing educational process for me, where does that food come from?
Well, that's a good question. It's state funded. What it used to be was way back when it started, we had butter and cheese, that excess butter and cheese years ago.
Right.
And we gave that away, and now we get it, Karen Sheriff brings it up, but it's through the temporary emergency food assistance program. And it's funded through the state or feds.
So they bring it up from Pueblo? Karen Sheriff?
Yeah, they do. I'm pretty sure it's Pueblo. They sent us a thing and saying, this is what we have this month, how much do you want? So then we fill it out, and then we have to track how much we get, we have to track, we have to make sure that people who are receiving it are income eligible for that and that they live in the county. Then we get some that comes just strictly from Karen Sheriff that we don't have to track, and that's stuff that's...
You just give it away.
We just give it away, we don't care who gets it. The sharing center down here gets a lot of that from the Karen Share, and they don't have to track any of that. That's fine, but the stuff that we get from TFAB, we have to track. We have to keep track of that.
And do you give out all of that food every?
Yeah,
you
we
do this
do.
on a weekly basis?
Oh no, monthly.
Monthly. And so you don't have much carryover
No.
of food?
No, we don't.
It's like canned food and stuff.
It's canned. We get dried like noodles. We get canned food. We get canned juice. Then we do get stuff like we have eggs the last couple of times. And sometimes we'll get meat. We haven't had that in quite a while, but we have freezers so that we can put that stuff in. We had frozen diced carrots, so we have those. I don't have the list with me right now. Pinto beans, sometimes we get that type of stuff. And then we'll get a lot of breads and cakes and pastries. Those are coming from like Walmart or someplace that is almost expired, and so they freeze them and then they send them to us, and we keep them frozen, and then we hand them out. So yeah, sometimes in the summertime we'll get like bags of carrots and potatoes, and we have to be careful because we have it in the backside of the scale house, and sometimes it's hot, and so we can't keep that stuff very long, so we got to keep an eye on that.
Okay.
But that's all I have, unless you have anything else.
How's things going in your office?
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, okay. Where the commodities are right now, Monday, since Rhonda and I are gone, that's when the commodity truck's coming in. So we're gonna have to work on, figure out something there. And then the day that we do a distribution, Stacy and I are gone that day, so we're gonna have to figure out something for that. So we get that stuff worked out.
Is that something we could ask a volunteer to come in and help?
We have volunteers that come in and help us on the distribution date. So we're gonna, Gal's coming in on Friday, and we're gonna have a conversation about what we're gonna do with that, just to help us with that for right now.
So you're confident you're gonna get that covered?
We'll get it covered.
Okay.
Yep, we'll get it covered.
You would let us know if something comes up.
I will let you know, and you can come out there.
That's what we're thinking. The three of us go out there and roll out sleeves when we need to.
We'll bag it up,
Well,
yeah.
we can go set up tables and chairs at the health clinic. We can
Well, that is true.
Sure come help
we
with.
think because we've got the volunteers that come all the time, and so we'll just make sure we get them on board. And Stacy's gonna go out Monday while we're not here, just when the truck comes in and count it and make sure you have to do that, make sure everything's there. And then on distribution day, Rhonda's just gonna kind of go out and make sure everything's going okay. And it takes about an hour, so it's not a huge time. It just depends, but yeah, it's usually about an hour, maybe a little more.
Well,
so.
I would certainly be available to help if you need it.
Okay.
And you're gonna be down an employee in a couple months, huh?
Yes, yes.
And then he's retiring, end of May?
End of May.
Oh, she is.
Yep, she's retiring.
30 years?
No.
20?
No, she started in 91.
Okay.
So whatever that is. Yeah, so that's when, yeah, so she's gonna be gone.
27.
27 years.
Wow.
Seven, right?
Yeah. So, and that's why we're trying to get the new caseworker in so we can get I would say them trained, because they have to go through the training academy and everything else.
And you're gonna promote within your office to fill Linda's position?
Stacy's gonna become the supervisor, and then, we'll get the new caseworker in. And, they'll be taking over the APS to the adult protection side of that. So, we have the plan, we just gotta get it.
Get it filled
We gotta
in,
get it filled and get going. Yeah, so,
Okay.
that is our plan.
All right, very good. Well, thank
All
you.
right.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
Yep, thanks.
And Tom, I just want you to know,
Yes, ma'am?
that conversation we had earlier about Kelly,
Yes.
Brenda is my witness from yesterday. Is that right, Brenda?
Yeah, she probably wasn't being truthful.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could accept that at face value. There might be some collusion going
Oh,
on back
okay.
there.
Appoint me as special counsel.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Laura, you can give me a minute.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, man.
That to me.
Got coffee back there, Brenda? Yes.
You want, I'll bring it to you.
Thanks.
You
Got
want,
love a cup.
you want creamer?
Yep. Forgot to get it. Been dying ever since.
We'll move on to old business if, I think that concludes our staff reports. So, first item under old business, personnel policy changes, adoption of resolution 18-03. Ms. Kemper, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm trying to think, was that in January we started this whole thing, or December, somewhere in there?
December's when we stood it up.
You guys wanted us, as a group, to take a look at the personnel policy again. So the elected officials and the department heads, we had one get together. Well, everybody looked at it, then we had to get together, went over everything, everybody made their suggestions and changes. And then, we had a workshop with you guys last week, and, went over all those changes again. And everybody at this point is good with all the changes. There weren't really that many made. They were, yeah, they were pretty, yeah. So at this point, Clint has suggested that we make the changes by resolution. You guys also want everybody, the elected officials, to re-sign the personnel policy itself. So I guess today we just need to handle the resolution, and then we'll have Brenda or, yeah, I guess you did it last time, handled all the signatures, all of us signing off on it, on the personnel policy.
Okay. And we're gonna make sure we get the title page of that personnel policy change to reflect 2018, correct? It was
Yeah,
2017.
to reflect that date. I guess we can change it to today's date since we're doing the resolution today.
Yeah, we did. It's dated today.
Yeah, and I don't know, Dawn and I discussed at one point, giving copies out to everybody again, and I don't know that you wanna do that, cause that's 70-ish people, and that's a pretty.
Couple trees.
Several trees. So I don't know how you wanna, I've got that list that I typed up that has all the changes, page by page, and whatever, we can just send that out, or, I don't know. Yeah, we can email it, I don't know how you
Everybody
wanna.
can email it.
Yeah, we can put
Actually,
a link to it off of the,
So all the
Website.
employees currently have one,
Yes,
okay, so I would be fine if we sent out just, here are the changes,
what the changes
please
are.
Addendum to.
fix it. So my question is, we're gonna have the elected officials sign off on it, do we need to have the employees sign off on it also?
No.
Uh-uh.
It's the policy that
Okay.
you and the elected officials have agreed upon. They don't have to agree to it or not. It's what you
And I-
decide.
What your office is.
And I think the things that all the employees signed before were all those addendums in the back, what were those, Brenda? I can't even think of one of them off the top of my head.
And the drug
And
testing policy.
none of those changed,
Both in policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Okay, I just wasn't sure how we wanted to.
yeah.
I personally have no problem sending an addendum, please update your personal policy with these changes. I think that makes much more sense than reprinting the whole thing for.
Yeah.
And then the new
majority.
policy is gonna be on the website.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say, the policy's on the website,
Yeah.
right? So they can go in and look at it, yeah.
Yeah, there was confidentiality, drug and alcohol,
Yeah.
conflict of interest, outside employment,
Yeah.
those addendums were.
Yeah, and none of
And
those
none of that
changed.
changed. And again, most of it was housekeeping. Instead of referencing Colorado revised statutes, we actually put the number in there or a link to
Or
that.
a link, yeah, a link to the statute.
A couple of substantive changes, but I mean, we all agreed on it, so I think we're okay.
Yeah. So we have two signature pages today. One obviously is the resolution, and then the other is Chapter 12, the adoption, a signature page that the 3 county commissioners and elected officials would sign. So, and I don't know if these signatures really indicate have received and read. I don't know what
think
this signature page
those-
really attests to.
Those just attest to, like, the department heads, like Laura, Jackie, all them are under you guys. These are just saying that the elected officials acknowledge the policy and will follow the policy the same as you guys.
If I remember last time we had, did all the elected officials sign it?
All
about
except
one.
One. That's what I was concerned about. I'm wondering if that person was signed it.
They all had their input, so there shouldn't be any
And
issue.
it doesn't,
They were happy.
it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter because they don't have any employees anyway, so.
So, would you like a motion?
I would.
I'll make a motion.
Let me move this time. I feel left out.
I'm so sorry, I don't.
You get to have all, you cornered the motion market.
Do your thing.
I move we accept or adopt the resolution adopting the 2018 Custer County Comprehensive Personnel Policy, resolution number 18-03.
Okay, I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded we adopt the personnel policy via resolution 18-03. Discussion.
I would just like to commend Kelly and the staff for the amount of work they put in to fix this and take out typos and all that stuff, and Clint, and the other people involved. I compliment you on the job well done.
Yeah, there was a lot of people involved.
That's what I've been.
Right, and I'd like to also say it was worth the team building exercise. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we were rapidly approaching the end of a lot of people's ropes on their patience and effort to hammer on this much more, so I thought everybody worked together well. Thank you. Comments from the public? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 18-03 has been approved. Should I read that into the record, Clint? Or?
It's a pretty short one. You can read it.
Okay. Resolution 18-03, a resolution adopting the 2018 Custer County Comprehensive Personnel Policy. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners for Custer County, a political subdivision of the state of Colorado, has been presented for its review and consideration a proposed revision of the current Custer County Comprehensive Personnel Policy, and whereas the board has examined the proposed revision and has received input from the elected officials and department heads of the Custer County government concerning said revision, and whereas the board is satisfied that the proposed revision establishes appropriate policies and procedures for the employees of Custer County and will serve their best interest by providing clearly defined guidelines and protocols regarding their rights and responsibilities. Now therefore be it resolved that the proposed 2018 Custer County Comprehensive Personnel Policy should be and is hereby approved and adopted this date and shall be effective immediately. All previous personnel policy manuals for Custer County government employees are replaced by this 2018 personnel policy, done this 4th day of April 2018. Signatories Tom Flower, Bill Candid, J. Prince. Attestation Kelly Campbell. Next item of business, under old business, is the Wetmore plumbing issue. Commissioner Prince.
Thank you. You know, I've been dealing with this for quite some time. I've always called it a fixture, but I'm gonna tell you it's the men's urinal in the bathroom downstairs. Just because that's the fixture. It has had an issue from day one with it not, with a foul odor. Either the plumbing was bad, the fixture was bad, it wasn't installed right, I don't know. I asked a local plumber, licensed plumber, Jerry Greenstreet. I just talked to him about it. He said, hey, I'm going down that way, let me take a look. So he didn't charge us anything, he was just kind of a friend. He went down and he said, he can't see anything from the outside wrong with it, so maybe there's a valve on the inside that's not opening and closing to let the sewer gas come back up. He said he would have to take it off the wall and it would be extensive, and I felt that's beyond where we want to go. I've been making issues of this from as soon as we were told from the people down in Wetmore that this was a significant issue. I've been complaining mostly to Tom Duke, who is the architect. I was told early on to deal directly with him, and he would deal with the contractor. I had some discussion with legal counsel because we weren't getting anywhere, and legal counsel's advice was wonderful and got an immediate response. Unfortunately, I don't like the response. What they're saying is the cost will be $960. And the assumption I'm getting just reading this is that they anticipate we authorize that and pay for it. I think personally this should be their responsibility. It was part of the plans to build that men's restroom appropriately. They put in a fixture that was not functioning properly. The 960 was for a flush toilet, not a waterless toilet. The one that's in there is a waterless toilet. I didn't make that very clear, but I'm sorry. Yeah, the waterless one, I think those of us who are accustomed to them, they generally work very well. It's not an issue. This one does not down in Wetmore. So that's been the ongoing issue. So I said to them, you need to do one or two things. The Wetmore folks were fine if it just got removed, and I said, remove it, but I want a refund of what the costs are that you put in. They didn't like that idea a whole lot. And they said we could put it in, run water to it, and just make it a regular flush urinal. Proposal is $960. I have not responded to this. I got it yesterday. What I would like to do with approval is to go back to them and say, we agree, go put it in, but this is your expense, not ours. It was not done appropriately, and I feel that this should have been appropriately done and probably should have been fixed immediately. So unless, that's just kind of where I'm bringing it up. I wanted to throw the number out, and I want to say what my suggested course of action is at this moment. Let's see what they respond.
See what they respond. It doesn't cost us anything to ask.
I mean, I honestly feel we paid for a men's restroom with fixtures that operate properly, and we have one that doesn't, and that's part of your job.
Why'd they put in a waterless one anyway?
You know, at the
Somebody
time,
do a trade on it or something?
you know, they actually made that decision on their own. It just calls for a urinal. And I really didn't
The
have.
contractor made that
Yes,
decision?
and I really didn't have a major issue with it when it was proposed, because, you know, I've used it before. There's not an issue. They do save a little water. It's not that big a deal. However, this one is a big deal. And the people are upset down there, and I fully agree with them. So, I guess, you know, if you both agree that this ought to be their responsibility, not ours, I'm gonna go back to them and say, go put it in, but don't send us a bill.
I don't think we're gonna have any luck, but
Okay.
worth a try.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll take that as a consensus, and I'll just report back on whatever we have. Fair enough?
Yeah, I've got a couple comments. I just am looking here, can't believe everything you see on the internet, but a price of a standard waterless urinal appears to be between $400 and $500.
And hanging and plumbing and all that.
Exactly.
You gotta put water in that wall.
So that's one of my concerns, and that may be because I see, according to your notes here, it's to supply and install the new urinal and new flush valve. It doesn't say anything about installing a water line to it. I don't know if there's a water line in that wall or not. I see that they would pressure
It's right next to the sink.
Water
So-
close, but it's probably not.
And I
We're
agree.
gonna break open the wall,
I
it
don't
costs
know.
whatever it costs.
I'm assuming their $960 quote is a turnkey. That's the assumption, it doesn't say
Right,
this.
yeah. So I guess number one, I would be a little concerned about what that dollar figure does include, because they may say, okay, we'll do it. Well, then they get down there and say, well, we're gonna have to charge you $1,200 to get the water over to the urinal itself. I don't know that, but, and then secondly, we're gonna have a $400 or $500 waterless urinal on our hands. That's,
Right. And it also will have additional expense, because the proposal excludes any old patching of walls, any masonry or tile work. So,
and this is Duke with Whitlock.
yes. No, Duke is an independent architect. Whitlock was the contractor.
Yeah, I certainly would support you contacting them and saying, you need to fix this, we're not paying a dime, we've already paid for it.
That's exactly my approach.
I've not looked at any of the warranty papers. I did go through that notebook, but I didn't specifically look up the warranty papers on that, but surely that's.
It's a one-year warranty, but my assumption, my belief would be that even if it goes beyond the warranty period, if the issue was identified and there was conversation prior to the warranty ending, it's an ongoing issue that needs to get resolved.
Exactly. Not that I have an extensive amount of experience with urinals, but I certainly supervised high school
Wait a
students
minute.
installing 4 of them.
What do you mean?
And it's not rocket science. But getting water to it could be an
Yeah,
issue.
that's right.
Right, they're gonna have to open the wall to get the water there, and then,
Yeah.
and it's
Installed any either.
Yeah, I've installed 4 of them, so flush, not waterless. But, so my next question would be then, did Green Street offer up any cost
I
estimate
did
that
not
he
ask,
did?
I did not ask him. I asked him to look at it and say, is there a simple fix here? Because if he would have said, oh yeah, I just need to change the whatever, I would have said, go ahead, and I may even pay him that little pocket just to get
But
it done.
if the hardware costs $400, you can bet that the labor's gonna be close to it.
Especially if you go through these
Break it,
guys.
yeah.
I mean, my experience in the construction industry, we could hire someone to do it probably half as much as
Right, they
these
keystone it.
guys.
Labor-wise, but it
So-
don't cost that much.
Well, a flush urinal's gonna be probably under $120.
Might
So,
be. Could be.
but let's start with that if you don't mind, and then if they say
Why don't you
no,
ask Green Street
we're not doing
to
it.
put an estimate together? He's looked at it already.
I certainly can, but
Just get
would
in your
would we
pocket so
wanna
you
have?
can deal with it.
Let's see what we get back from this guy.
If it's okay with you, Bill, I'll just go to them and say, we think we need to, thank you for sending this. we believe this is your issue. Go
See what they
fix
do.
it. Go fix it.
Well, do you want to offer to just let them have that waterless?
I would give it, yeah, because,
Let them take it?
Take it and trade.
Yeah.
Hasn't been used much.
yeah,
Apparently.
I mean, if we end up with an extra
Yeah,
fixture,
this-
that's
Yeah.
what I was asking. If we end up with an extra fixture, that's not appropriate, they can take the fixture and hang it somewhere else.
He may
Dry up, probably.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, take a second and read through that, but,
It's playing that with wings on their feet.
okay, we can move ahead and give you a chance to
I'll
read
go
that, if that's
I'll
all
go
right.
forward on it. Yeah, no problem.
So, you're good with that, Bill, by consensus. Thank you for keeping us updated, sir, on what's going on. Any further old business?
Yes, did you want to just, oh, was that new business?
That was old business.
Sorry.
So, if hearing none, we'll move on to new business. We have 2 items, and we will start with Mr. Carter. We've invited him to come visit with us. You're welcome to come up, sir, if you would. Thank you for being here. There's a reason, John, we're holding you to last,
I know.
obviously. Okay, thank you.
I'm good with it.
Good morning. How are you?
See you.
Thank you.
Gotta shake my hand.
Yeah, it's a requirement.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking time to come sit with us. Obviously, I don't want to call it an issue, but the point of conversation was whether or not to do a retaining wall.
Right. We elected not to do a retaining wall. I got some not fancy drawings here. I just want to show you what I'm talking about.
Thanks. That isn't very fancy.
It's not fancy at all. On your north sidewalk, right out here, the first drawing, the top drawing, within 3 feet of your sidewalk there, your turf raises up 8 inches.
Okay.
And within a few more feet, raises up 12 inches above the sidewalk. So you've already got a huge elevation change as it is right there. Now the bottom drawing, the deepest part, the highest part of where we've changed the elevation, which is down here on this corner, pretty much, is only 10 inches. Now we're recommending, you folks said you wanted to take some of that off, maybe put in a sprinkler system, but at very least improve your drainage there. If you only were to take off 2 inches of that, we could construct, or you could construct the same look that you already have on the top drawing. And we're recommending and thinking that you ought to at least take 4 inches off of that, maybe even 6 inches off of that to improve your drainage out there. You actually lose elevation as you get closer back to your building. So
You're worried about cutting the roots off the trees.
Yeah, the only tree that would be an issue would be the one big tree in the front. And we've got plenty of room around that. We can leave that mounded up, and we could easily roll that into that sidewalk with no problem at all, without disturbing any of those roots. Those big roots.
Will that assist with the drainage issue that we have now? Because we know in very heavy rains, water comes into the
Comes into
building.
the building, yeah.
And the discussion that
Don't wanna do that.
we had when you started your project was this was an opportunity for us to lower our grade of the front lawns to keep the water going the right way.
Yeah, and that's certainly what we recommend that you do.
So you shot that and you can
Yeah.
make it drain out.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to take down. And the one big tree that we're concerned about is not really a problem. Just leave that mounded up around that tree and won't take anything off there. And we can roll that edge right down into the sidewalk.
When you say we can, who's the we?
Him.
No.
Are we talking about
Well,
the contractor?
no. I know you guys said you do your own dirt work there, and that's fine, but we would help with that, and we'd certainly help with any, around that tree or any areas that you might have problems with.
Okay, what happened to the discussion about the retaining wall? Where did that go by the wayside?
Well, the retaining wall was whether we needed one or not. We needed to see where our elevation ended up, you know, on the sidewalks and what that looked like. And the retaining wall would really prevent you from being able to correct your drainage issue. If we put a retaining wall in there, you're not going to be able to drop this drainage. It wouldn't drain as well if you have a wall there.
My conversation with you about this was, and we kind of left it pretty open because you were originally thinking you were going to put a full retaining wall.
We thought that we might have to go down. We thought that a change in the elevation at that corner might be as much as 18 inches.
Right.
And if it was, we might have to do a retaining wall.
Right, and then you and I spoke, and I think we being the county, I represent the county with this conversation. We talked about, I would really kind of leave it in your hands and the contractor's hands, Langston, to determine what do we need to do to fix our drainage. But I was under the impression there was going to be some wall, we just didn't know how high it would be based upon what needed to be done to fix the drainage problem. So when we found that there was no wall at all, that was kind of a surprise to us, to be honest, because we kind of left it in your hands. You guys tell us what we as the county need to do to fix our drainage with whatever wall you leave up.
Yeah, and that was kind of our situation also, because we fully expected that our elevation of that sidewalk at that corner was going to be 18 inches or maybe more below the existing elevation, the grass elevation, and it turned out not to be at all. We're only 10 inches below. And so, if we had suspected that before, known that, we would never have recommended a retaining wall at all. We just thought we were going to end up. We thought we were going to end up a lot lower than we had. So, at this space with 10 inches, I wouldn't recommend any kind of retaining wall at all. We barely got enough room there to improve that drainage.
See,
as it is.
You're thinking that whoever would put the wall in, you don't think we need a retaining wall at all?
I wouldn't advise putting a retaining wall at all there. You're not going to get the kind of drainage.
Just cut it down and let it slope down around. So
If we were to cut that down and tie it into the existing sidewalk instead of this 10-inch thing, one of my concerns is now, if we put an underground sprinkler system in there, then we have to come back up into the center of the yard and try to get our sprinkle pattern to come out to the edge of the concrete, or put an underground sprinkler head here and try to shoot up over that hump. So I did not shoot it by any means. I've gone out there with Mike Langston and our maintenance guy. We looked at this elevation. There is a negative slope back to the building, no argument about that. To correct that, the whole yard would need to come out. Shaving this is not going to solve the issue of drainage, I can tell you that. We can backfill up against the foundation of the courthouse to get some of that sloped away from the building, and then that would give us at least getting that water directed away from the foundation. We do not have a positive slope to get clear to the sidewalk, so it's not going to solve the drainage issue by itself, in my opinion.
So to solve it, you would either need to build up the dirt here or remove more.
Correct, and it's really not feasible to come up much higher than about 8 or 9 inches on that foundation wall. So we just got a high spot out there in that yard, and most of it's around the base of those two trees.
A low spot.
This would be a low spot out there
right now.
Yeah, we need to fill it.
So
You'll have plenty of dirt to fill it with.
yeah,
Just move it around.
and then the problem is you strip all the sod off of that.
And then you gotta resod it.
I believe we are going to get into a root zone if we go back more than about 6 feet. We certainly can't get up around the tree that's closest to the sidewalk. There's already roots protruding out where the excavation was done for the sidewalk. So whether it's enough damage to the roots to cause harm to the tree, I doubt it. But
we're looking at, that close to the surface around that tree. We're seeing small roots, but we're not seeing any big roots that we're going to get into. And that's really where your problem would be. If we damaged any big roots, there'd be an issue. But those small roots aren't going to.
Yeah.
If we don't do a retaining wall, then we have to strip off the sod and remove the material, and then that either needs to be resodded or seeded, grass seeded back. I think a retaining wall would look nicer in the long run, but again, it's not gonna do anything to alleviate any drainage problems up there.
And once you put the retaining wall in, you're kind of stuck with it.
Then
You
we're
don't ever
landlocked,
fix that.
basically.
You don't get to fix your problem.
That's true, that's one thing to think about.
And other than stripping their blankets and putting up their handrails, they're done here.
Pretty much done, yeah.
They asphalted yesterday. They're gonna be in the county for another week or two from the sounds of it, cause they got some other projects going.
We'll be on Highway 96 right up here, starting today. They're already there. We'll be there for a couple of weeks.
So who are we thinking about cutting this dirt for?
Well, I did talk to Gary Hyde about that. He said that he would be willing to bring his equipment and men up to do that if that's what we wanted to do. I put a hold on that based on our conversation today, on the outcome of our conversation today. So, I don't think it's reasonable to think without a sod cutter that we can strip the sod and save it. And
That
put it
isn't
back
working.
down. So,
I've had a lot of good luck reseeding, throw some hay on it, Tom, and a friend of mine just did it, and the yard's overrun with grass.
It's a good time of the year.
Good time to do it.
And the sod is pretty dormant as it is.
Yeah.
yeah.
If we're gonna do it, I think.
Certainly could be done. We're a little early in the frost season yet. We'll have to drain hoses every day that he waters it, but I would recommend holding off maybe another week or two before we try to seed it. But I don't have a problem trying to reseed it.
Yeah.
It's not like we get a lot of foot traffic on there, so. Were the handrails included in the original project?
No, handrails are not. The town's gonna take care of that. We're not gonna put any handrails up or safety railing up until after the CDOT inspector comes and inspects and tells us exactly where to put those. One of the problems with CDOT is if you talk
You
to
didn't do it right away.
if you talk to two people about where you need handrails or safety rails, you get two different answers. If you talk to three people, you get three different answers. So we're gonna wait.
Ask one
We're
guy.
gonna wait till the inspector comes.
So why handrails are not, it's handrails down the ramp?
Yeah.
Okay, not the benches that you
No.
put up in, yeah, okay.
Wasn't really room for a bench there on the
Yeah, I
end.
didn't think so, that's what I was gonna ask. Okay.
Well, gentlemen, what's your general feeling?
I think we go ahead and do it.
I don't think we have much choice. I think we can't leave it the way it is, obviously. I mean, that's not appropriate. I would be inclined, this is really not my bailiwick, okay, but I would be inclined to slope it back up towards the tree that's up there. And
Take the dirt and put it in the low spot.
yeah, I just not really worry about this part at this point. I mean, I'm really not in favor of a sprinkler system. I don't know where the money would come from, and I would assume it's gonna be fairly
We can put that
expensive.
in later.
You know, I
if
don't
we
know.
want.
I would say the minimal would be to cut this back to whatever seems reasonable, and at least we'll cut some of the drainage that was starting here coming back, at least we'll start here and go back.
I'm betting when they do it, that will be good.
Yeah, when I talked with Gary Hyde, we also talked about taking whatever material we remove here, cut it here and add it back
That's what I
up
was
against the
thinking.
foundation, enough to at least get us some positive flow.
When they can find a little bit of topsoil, bring it in there, so it doesn't cost anything. Just because,
The topsoil that you have out here right now is very, very good. And there's
pretty dark.
very thick.
Nice.
Plenty of it.
Okay. General consensus in, I will pursue with Mr. Hyde, and we'll get her peeled back and at least get the ankle breaking potential out of there as soon as
That's
we
what I'm
can.
concerned.
Yeah,
You know,
myself.
from the other side of the fence that I live on, those steps were a nightmare to me. We knew they were broken, there were pieces missing, and the liability to the town was significant, so we alleviated that and made a new one.
And we got a
Not all that
sidewalk coming.
What a great project. I mean, obviously, I just can't praise Langston's crew enough. They're all over it, they get after it, they get it done, it's done right, and thank you to the town of Westcliff for committing the funds to do that. It's not a cheap project by any means, but certainly is a huge improvement up and down Main Street as well as right here, so thank you for that. We appreciate it from our standpoint.
We would have liked to have done more had we been able to afford it. We'd have done the whole sidewalk and changed those steps out front and other things. But
Well, it's a great
You blew
improvement.
all the money downtown already.
downtown.
All right, sir, well, thank you.
All right, and again, we'll help with that.
Okay.
Moving that dirt.
All right.
That's no.
Yeah, we'll see what Gary
His
thinks.
equipment's pretty big.
Yeah,
Yeah, we get a big loader in here and we can do it in a second.
well, thank you for coming.
Right.
Good job on the mayor's race.
Yeah, the election's
Election's over.
All right, thank you, sir.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is that quick?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. How did I miss that?
Our next
Busy
item
doing
of
this.
new business is
He's the new mayor.
Did he win?
Well,
M&G
provisionally,
Investments.
they got it certified, but
Welcome,
to this
sir.
point.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Nice to see you.
Good,
Tom.
thank you. Have a seat.
Canada.
Good morning, sir.
Nice to see you.
See you again. You just got off the airplane, ran in.
Well, yeah, I caught a flight last night, it's economical, but then you have to pay the price.
34.
I was able to sleep.
41, 34.
In the rent-a-car, you had to wait for the shut on.
Gosh.
But, you know, I was kind of prepared for it. I took 2 days prior to that to gear up for this
Yeah.
trip, and
Good.
here we are. And
I'm glad you made it.
yeah, and I'm glad I made it too. I think the meeting was really important because I'm not coming in as a neighbor or someone saying, hey guys, I'm selling this building and this is our price, it's $279 with a realtor, they'll get the commissions, let them have at it. That's not the whole idea behind this. Originally when we bought this building in 1993, when I got to the valley, I drove by that building for a couple of years and I just kept looking at it. And I said, that thing's a beautiful building, I just would love to fix it up someday. So I created a vision in my own head because I had to have help in order to start that project. And I was fortunate enough to be able to get that building and start the thing. And so, you know, I sent you the files and you can see what it was like and what was happening and then what it's like now. And certainly we never took any shortcuts. We met all the state requirements for the exterior. And then on the interior, we altered a few things because we needed to bring it state of the art so that we would make use of it currently. I think the plan is that being a part of this community for 13 years and the love and the work that we do to make it here and I think it's more important that we come up with a plan and try to work it out. How do we preserve this building and keep it with the county, and then the county can control its destiny with guidance through different departments or different fundraisers or grants. And certainly I attempted that when I first started to work on the building because there's a lot of other things that can be done to it that brings it back to its original look. And we left some things unfinished because of that. Minor, but on the outside, for example, the north porch, that's supposed to be a picket porch, and we have it in the pictures and things like that. So we had it in there in the vision to continue this thing and to bring it to full circle. So basically, I've been the keeper of the gate for 22 years, and I did stick my neck out a little heavy. It took me a while to get this thing going. It was 1999 before I got it finished. Well, when that man, Archie, has started that project, it took him 3 years to build that stone house. It's 24 inches in the walls. And so the architecture on the inside is still original. As far as all the exterior things like that, and the Victorian Tower is just done according to the specs of the Historical Society. So those are our intentions, is to preserve this thing as part of the master plan. I'm familiar with the master plan because it was being worked on at the time when I was living here, and there were some committees going on that were giving support to it, and they actually have the Mercier House mentioned in the master plan under the state registry. So it's certainly recognized, but the most important thing is there's a very close relationship between the courthouse and the Mercier House, and that's the original groundbreaking of this courthouse. The picture can be seen in the hallway where Mrs. Mercier is there in that picture doing the groundbreaking for the courthouse. And certainly that to me is a very, very huge relationship going back to the day ones. So I think more importantly, I'm in a situation where I love this building a lot, and for me to let go of it is only going to have to go like to you guys or someone or the historical people, and maybe we can work something out.
What are you thinking? What do you mean work it out?
Well, you know, my partner said maybe we can do some kind of terms or something like that, and then the county can still collect the revenue. But I have 5 or 6 ideas of what that building can be used for on behalf of the county's use. And one, there's future growth and expansion.
What are your other ideas, like tourism board?
Well, I think that if the Historical Society got involved with it, the county would have their own little museum right here. I know what it would take on the inside to bring it back into it. We did some things in there to make sure that we kept the originality. For example, it had knob and tube wiring. So on those stone walls, there, to be of code, I had to put electrical in. So we took air hammers and chiseled the mortar and actually heated the conduit and grooved it into the mortar to get the electrical approved. And so that way when the baseboards lay flush, everything's flush. So there's no protruding wires or anything like that. So there's a lot of things that we did extra to that building to keep that look. But it, you know, there's child care, there's health services. There's some different departments that you have that are independent. They have
How many square feet was it?
I think its total is 1,900.
What you said?
Yeah, and I think it's 1,200 down and 700 up. And it's on separate meters and things like that, where we designed it to break it down to fit people's economies on rental and
Well, I asked you when I first met you if you had any interest in donating this building. Would you, can I ask that question again?
Yeah, in a perfect world, or in my situation, I would have. What I've encumbered over the last 4 years financially, it's likely that I've had people that have helped to support me, but I need to, as I get older, I need to take care of that. And the stone house is the thing I love the most, and I wish I could, you know, and so it took a convincing for me to come here and say, let's sell this thing, because in my heart I didn't want to sell it. I was going to let my kids have it, and then, but it just...
See along Jay's thinking here,
Yeah.
with him there, there might be ways, if you're thinking about terms of some kind, you're going to have to come up with a proposal for us to consider, because we're not going to be in a position to say, here's what we want to do.
No, this is a plan.
If you can come up with, $50 a week, you know, I'm happy, or whatever, or give us the right to sell it at some point, or you got to come up with something.
Well, you know,
How much are you asking for the property?
okay, if we listed it with the broker in town, it'd be $279. Okay. So, because I've worked on the replacement costs and things like that, it's hard to appraise stuff in town. You know, I've been in the
We
business,
understand that.
so I was licensed and broker here for those years that I lived here, and
You
I'm
did-
still licensed today.
You were here when our treasurer was speaking to us a little while ago about.
We're broke.
I understand, and I understand,
therein
but
lies the problem.
we've always had problems in our community with the budgeting. You know, it's always been a tough, tight race. I've followed it for years. I've been on the fire department for 6.5 years.
I want to make everybody, please, newspapers, we're not going backwards. We're growing.
Yeah.
But we've got to
It's
be
a
careful
conscious decision that was made.
how we grow forward.
So the plan is that, you know, we're open on the pricing, but we had to have something established in case I had to make a decision down the road to make the list.
Sure.
So there's our established price. Don't need a broker. We have an attorney. I have a title company, things like that. So commissions can be waived and things like that. So you can be creative about that. But where it was, it was terms for the county, so the owner financing could be 30 years at 5%. That's what we have with the CMB, is 5%.
So what's the payment on that? That's like,
That's like
about 3,000 a month.
No, it depends,
No,
you gotta come,
1,500.
you gotta come, it'd be about 1,500 a month, but you have to come up, whatever that down payment be. And
There are other issues there, because unless the taxpayers approve it, the taxpayers' bill of right tabor precludes us from entering into a
We can't
long-term
have that.
purchase that
That's right.
takes over a year.
Okay.
So that's just a complication.
Sure.
One of the other problems we'd have, not only with that building, but the building we have now is ADA accessibility. The upstairs would be of no use to the county as a public building without an elevator. That's a huge issue for us. We're struggling with it right here in this building as well. We're struggling with it in the search and rescue building. If it's a public building, it has to have ADA accessibility if the upstairs is
Part of the museum.
open to the public. If it's not, then that's not an issue.
Now, on the assessor's books, the upstairs is separate from the bottom. The bottom is commercial, and then the upstairs is assessed as residential.
And is there somebody living in there now?
Yes, we have a family, I guess she's the manager over at the bowling alley, and, you know, they've done a nice job in keeping it clean. I've had some rough tenants in the past, and sometimes you wonder how good your work is. Well, put some people like in Silver Cliff, what I went through with that, and by the end of the day, it's in really good shape again, because we put the quality into it in the beginning. And that's what we did here, like the water line, putting the water line from the main highway into the 5 feet deep, so we had to have a digger in there, a little excavator, dig that hole all the way around and bring it into and bring the new water lines in, all the propane lines, everything was done brand new, so, you know, gas, everything, so, it was quite a project. But I think what we're trying to come up with is that, how can we bond the county with us and to try to start to, maybe tie it up.
Have you thought of other out-of-the-box things? You know, the medical centers wanting to do things. Maybe there's a doctor's office kind of thing that could be on the bottom of that thing. Doing that. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
No, I think so.
A nurse, wellness center, whatever.
Well, certainly that are all options, but if my idea, or my partner and I's idea was to keep this thing going on the historical side, and let's tie it up, let's get the Historical Society involved, and let's try to work together, even if I have to be part of a committee, which I'm not a stranger of. I was on part of the support with the clinic, you know, and some donations there too. I mean, you know, 4-H, I mean, so I understand how we have to work together. And so I'm here as a willing person to try to come up with some kind of an idea that we can keep this and yet help me financially get out from some of the equity that I have involved in that project. So it's a humble thing, but it's what life in reality is today for myself and my family.
Well, I think, I can't speak for the Board of County Commissioners, I think that there are other avenues to go. I don't think it's incumbent upon the county to try to maintain the historical value and whatever of this building any more than it is any other entity in this county. Certainly, Historical Society, I would think, should be at the front foremost of any entity wanting to preserve that. The county's purview is not to go around preserving buildings. Granted, it's close, it has some historical connection to the county, but I would think the town of Westcliff and the Historical Society would be more appropriate to go at than the county.
Or like a separate entity, like the train guys are doing their thing, and so are other historical pieces up there.
But on the other end of the spectrum, even though it does have that state and that historical side, having the possession of that land and having the possession of that to complete the county block, and there's still revenue coming in, and that's on the low end. But at times I had revenue coming in at $1,500 a month on that place because I had it separated at the bottom and the top, and it was easier for me to manage that building when I was here. Now I rely on a property manager, and he does a great job. But we had to also go with, you know,
Right.
the flexibility.
But our job is not to do that. Our job is to attract people that could do that. We want the revenue, we want to grow, we want things to happen, and a museum is a great idea, and build that in. But we don't operate that. We can't afford to do that.
I understand.
We want to provide the services to make it possible for you to do things.
Well, I tried for 3 years to get help financially, and I was turned down.
Yeah.
And even with all the, I don't know if you saw how many letters I had, and they came from a lot of the entities in the valley at the time, and even with those letters, I couldn't get the funding, and they're saying, and otherwise, that could have gone in the direction of a national level, but I had to turn around and make a financial decision. At what point do we stop and say, okay, we'll keep it?
Well, are you afraid to go after somebody that has the same interest as you do? I have a friend that I could talk to. I mean, he loves the history of this valley, likes the stone houses, would invest in it for an investment. But you know, I think there are people out there that would love to grab a hold of something.
And I understand.
I understand why you want to help us keep it as part of the courthouse, but they could still claim that, can't they? It's on the same block, and they made a museum out
Yeah,
of it.
but I certainly understand that, but I was also coming in to say the county, this is next door to the county.
Well-
And down the road, and who knows what'll happen in 20 years or 30 years, you know.
Well, we don't want to tear it down.
That could have almost happened.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll be honest with you, and we had this discussion a little bit on the phone.
Yeah.
As a commissioner, I don't think we have any business buying that house
Okay.
because it's next door to this courthouse. If
Okay.
it was a business or a building that we could utilize, we need space. There's no question about that. But we do, and this is me as commissioner speaking for me, not for these two gentlemen.
Right.
Because we all have our constituents to answer to, and I would think as a taxpayer, anybody would say, why are you buying that building? You have needs for space. Is that going to solve that? The answer to that, in my opinion, is no. One, because it's a 2-story, and we need office spaces. The county does not need a museum or a daycare center or a medical office, although those would be great uses of that. I don't see that as being a demand, a pressing need for the county. We've got pressing needs. If we didn't have, then I would say that for me the conversation would go a different direction, John. I'm not discounting building. I'm not saying it didn't worth anything. As a county, I don't think we have business investing in that for the historical value. You've heard from Tom Flower.
Right. And, you know, I understand, and I think that's what it, you know, even with trying to work with the county and getting it, I understand, and so then we'll move on to the next step.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
These gentlemen are certainly more than welcome to share their opinions with you. I'm just trying to be honest because I feel like I owe that to you. You made the effort.
Well, with a lot of things that I fixed in this building, when you gave me that lead for the Historical Society, I call that number and it's disconnected.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and so, I tried it 2 times because I've been known to misdial. And so, but it.
Got a wrong number or something?
Well, it just.
No, the
it was just-
Historical Society is pretty much
The
disbanded.
Fremont Custers, that
Customer.
Yeah, so once I probably, walk from the offices here, then we go to the next journey and move.
How
the
big
next
was
step.
that lot? It's not that big.
Mr.
It's
Goldman,
4 lots.
Can I make a suggestion, Mr. Goldman?
Sure.
We need space here. The county needs space. Maybe you would want to make a proposal to us. Please don't fly back out here. I hate for you to spend that money.
I needed to get out of the house.
Okay.
This is
That's
to
fine.
see how well I do.
I feel
This is
bad
a
that-
test trip, you know.
Well, I feel bad that you came all the way over.
You shouldn't.
Okay, because.
I see a lot of friends on these trips.
You got a vested interest.
I got
out
a
there.
lot of people
Okay.
here I know.
I feel
so-
much better then.
Yeah.
But let me make just a thought. Rather than just say, no, we're not interested. Maybe you would be interested, maybe we would be interested if you made a proposal to us like, I'll lease it to you over a 10-year period or a 15-year period at a very reasonable rate with an option to purchase at the end or at any time during that 10-year period. that solves our Tabor issue, taxpayer bill of rights issue. But if the lease is low enough, I mean, I know you heard us speak with the Veterans Service Office that he has issues on space. I mean, maybe if there's a low enough lease, we would be willing to lease it and have the option to buy it down the road. I don't know if that's something you would
Depends
entertain.
on timing.
I don't know if they would entertain this, but I would certainly look at it much more favorably than us writing a check to you from a bank account that is already in the red. I mean,
I
to be
respect
real
that a
honest
lot.
with
you. Do you have an idea what a lease amount, because
That's
if you're
why I
bringing it
said
up,
you need to bring a proposal
you've
to
been
us.
bringing it up, so you must have thought a little bit
No,
about
I
it.
did not think about it. I
So-
was thinking how, my mind while we were talking about this is not for us, you brought up some wonderful points. It is on our block. It is a beautiful building. It fits with our courthouse. It would be a shame if someone opens up a pet store there. Okay, I know that, I'm throwing out
Unless
stupidity.
you like dogs.
But what
You
I'm
won't have a
trying to
liquor
say
license
is,
as long as I own it.
giving the opportunity down the road to potentially own it
I wouldn't want a
would be
marijuana dispensary.
worthwhile to the county. It would also be worthwhile if we had the space to use it. So it would have to, I mean, we've talked about how we're gonna add more space. We have long-term plans, but those may be as much as 10 years out. We have some immediate needs. So if the lease, I mean, I would certainly like to look at, I don't know what the inside looks like, I don't know if it could even be used for offices or whatever, but all of that could be retrofitted, I
It
know.
was
without-
totally wired and designed for offices
Okay.
and stuff, so we.
Jay's got a good point.
Yeah, I like that, I.
Short term,
I'm just
maybe
trying to,
just
I like that.
I don't
because
wanna discount it
something
completely.
temporary for us to move people in and out while we're doing some other things, and then turn it over to somebody else. It could be in the cards, but we gotta think out of the box a little bit.
Okay,
But
so-
right now, I can tell you, we're not interested in buying that building.
Okay, well, that's good, and, you know, I think that the lease would be the next, logical option to keep, that
If the
relationship.
county's involved.
Yeah.
If not, a for sale sign would be the right way to go, I
I
would think.
understand.
So I agree with Commissioner.
I think that, I'm more, comfortable trying to work with my partner on getting the lease idea sold to him, because he's the one that will help support me, knowing that there's a secured, that deal or short-term relationship.
You can make it as short term as you want,
Yeah,
'cause
15.
even a year or two might help us as we move people in and out of buildings,
Yeah.
as we try to grow different.
Yeah, we should do
On the
the.
contrary, I would love to see a longer term
Well, it
lease
could be.
with an option to purchase
I
at some
think
point.
that the long term is more of something, that would be
Just a thought.
entertaining than a short-term lease. So I think that that's a really great
Just
idea.
give us some
I really
ideas.
do. So I think a 15-year lease, and then, you know, maybe, and I'll throw these numbers, I'll make a quick phone call and then be back in 10 minutes. But yeah, maybe $1,000 a month for 15 years, I don't know, because, you
You
know,
guys better do some more thinking on that.
okay. Well,
You're right.
because, you know, because I'm not getting, the only thing we're getting is more of a longer term commitment. We're not really getting the money out of that building that it can potentially get even right now, so.
What restrictions are on that property because it's Colorado Historical Society? It's on the register, state register.
What can't you do?
Good question.
It's still in the B zoning, so, I just can't do stuff on the outside.
Can't change, you can't go and remodel.
Inside you can.
Inside you can, outside you wanna keep it like that. If you wanna add a building to it, and then you show the design that shows it's something compatible, like you make it look like a chicken coop and it's still a building, and then you can have some things in there or whatever, but that stuff, if you wanna keep that sound, then we go to the Historical Society, and I certainly can help with things. You know, I'm not a stranger to these programs. So, and Irene and Stan Francis did a wonderful job helping me. And they worked out of more love than they did for money, because they wanted to see that thing preserved. So, you know, my hat's off to the team that helped me. It's, you know, I just believe in it, that's all. So I'll come up with an idea on a lease, and, but I just made an offer, but nobody came back with a lower amount, see, so.
Hit us with something, with a purchase option.
Okay, do you want me to put it on a contract then?
Yeah.
On paper? I mean, I
You
can.
can just handwrite it out,
All
just
right.
as something us to
Some
evaluate.
Okay,
And what I I would suggest, and I'm speaking for myself again, a purchase option at any time during the term of the lease, that type of thing, would be beneficial.
Sure, I don't have a problem with the purchase at any time, you know, as long as 30-day notice for tenant or whatever, you
Yes,
know,
of course,
basic
of
stuff.
course.
The only thing it does for me is
We would use
that
it if we leased it.
my biggest fear right now, I still have a note on that, on the building, and that's what we're trying to get that note taken care of.
Sure.
So, it's not a huge note, but it depends on what side of the fence you're on. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so, but it's still $30-something thousand, and we're trying to free that note up, that's the goal.
We'll pay off the note. We'll
So-
take the note.
So,
There's your little offer right there.
And then as far as our
Yeah.
site tour, which is another, reason that you were here, I've done it, I'm willing to go look around the outside of it again. I am not interested in going on the inside,
Right.
as long as somebody's right in there.
well, they know that we were gonna come over, but, that's fine, I mean, the inside is, most of it's all original on the bottom floor, except for the walls, that would have to pulled, and then you just re-put the sheetrock in. I did it with wood, and then the upstairs, that one's, you know, done like an apartment, so it's a little bit more modified.
modern.
Yeah, I mean, to get the permit on it and the occupancy, it took a while because of, you know, the process of, you know, that's an old building, but it came out really nice. So it's done really well, and it's gonna be there longer than me, I feel.
Well, I certainly think there would be utility for the county to be involved in that
Okay,
building.
I think that's a great proposal.
And it was just a suggestion.
Right, and so, I know you have a meeting on the 18th, but I'm here for 5 days. I would like to just go ahead, work out all of this, and then submit it to Brenda's office,
That would be
to
great.
her desk, and then she can just forward it to you while I'm here.
That'd be great.
Right.
So is it okay in the notes or the minutes that we can just have that as a follow-up? I'll give it to you guys.
I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for being flexible enough to discuss this.
Well, no, and this is what we, you know, I had a long meeting with my friend on it, and he's, you know, he knows that I'm needing to do some other stuff, so. So he's willing to work with that lease if it did come up. So,
Thank you, sir.
all right, thanks.
I don't need to go on a site tour, gentlemen.
No, I
I've
gave you
been out
enough
there,
pictures,
too.
I mean, we did.
No, I've been in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so, all right.
Okay,
Nice
thanks,
to see
John.
you again. Sure.
Thank you, Mr.
Bye,
Cole.
Kelly.
Have a good stay while you're
Yeah, I
here.
missed you last time, right, guys?
Thank you.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. Okay, any other new business to come before the board at this time, gentlemen?
Not for me, sir.
Nor do I. Mr. Kanda?
Maybe.
Move into a public comment period, ladies.
Is there any property you could trade for it?
That's a possibility. That's a very good suggestion. I thought.
That he
Not really,
that he
but
could sell?
we
I
don't have
I don't
enough.
even know what
Impression
you
I
know.
got, he was looking to get finances to pay it off.
Right.
But if he
entertained
could
it.
sell property, I don't know, I just thought, I don't know what we have.
It's an outside the box
It
thought.
depends
It's a
on
good
whether
one.
you
It's a-
want it or not.
It's a good thought. We'll see what the lease says. If that doesn't work, we'll ask him that question. Good thought.
I think he's more interested in getting cash.
Other comments?
We don't know.
Hearing none, meeting is adjourned. Let the record show it is 11:07.
Are we recessing until, is that another meeting?
No, we were
That's,
gonna adjourn,
That's just a separate
uh,
meeting.
Okay,
the weed advisory board
right,
has nothing to do with it.
okay.
Is that 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.